All right, so in this video, I'll be covering the architecture of our cold email outbound system. First, we'll be covering the three core components of what creates a winning cold email outbound system. And I'm just going to dive into each of the details. So this is essentially going to be a high-level overview of everything that you need to pretty much create, a winning cold email outbound system, how you can consistently generate leads and meetings from cold email and turn them into deals, of course, right? So the three core components of this that I'll be diving deeper into are going to be the outbound infrastructure, the go-to-market strategy, and then the demand capture system. So outbound infrastructure being the tech that we need behind the entire system to actually send the emails at scale, send to the right people at scale, and actually land in the inbox. The go-to-market strategy, that's going to be the why and the sort of the messaging behind everything, the targeting, and then demand capture systems. This is how we're actually going to turn the leads that we generate from our outbound emails into meetings and into closed deals eventually, right? So I'll start off with the outbound infrastructure. Three core parts of this being the sequencer, which we use Email Bison, Scaled Mail, which is the email accounts that we use that we add to the email sequencer being Email Bison, and then Clay, where is essentially the all-in-one tool we use for anything data enrichment, scraping, etc. So really, in terms of infrastructure, these are the three things that you really only need. I mean, everything beyond, of course, there's other tools that you can use that we use plenty of tools, right? But beyond this, you don't really need anything else, right? You need something that can send the cold emails at scale. You need the email inboxes to send the cold emails from, and then you just need data. If you have those three things, then you can send cold emails, right? Start with Email Bison. The reason why we like this tool, supports high volume. Main thing, isolate IP sending, so you're not sharing an IP with any other users that are using the sequencer as well, which a lot more, larger other more on-market tools are using or are doing. And then they also have really quality warrant pool, because one thing with Email Bison is that they don't just take on any user. You have to actually hop on a qualification call with the founder themselves and vet that you're not going to be a spammer, that you're actually going to be a good sender, right? So the warrant pool stays really, really high quality. They also have dedicated support, Slack channel with the founder and a few other team members that is super responsive and very helpful. And they also have good API, so you can pretty much connect whichever, do any automations you want from it. And typically it doesn't break. So it's always a great thing. Scaled Mail, we love Scaled Mail for email account providers. They offer ESP diversification, which is always super useful. Instead of having to go to multiple providers, we can show Scaled Mail. We can get our Outlook inboxes, Google inboxes, and also add SMTP inboxes on top of that if we want to. They handle the full setup done for you. They also do it very quickly. Great support. I mean, yeah. They'll help with like any issues you run into, which is inevitable no matter what inboxes where you set up from. You're going to run into issues. And they'll also run like a deliverability diagnosis. They'll take a look at your account. Go ahead and see like, okay, maybe it's a copy issue, maybe there's a tenant block. They'll see if there's a tenant block. If there is, they'll fix it for you. And they've been really great about that. And also, of course, the email accounts have great deliverability. Been very consistent at scale across the dozens of clients we use them for. So they have my highest recommendation. Pricing is also great compared to every other reseller. So definitely Scaled Mail is a crucial add to the stack. Then Clay, I mean, everyone knows about Clay. It's pretty much like it's becoming like one of the essential go-to-market tools to have in 2025. And I've listed three main use cases for it, but there's like a billion use cases. But these are like the three main ones you need strictly for the outbound side of things. First one being data enrichment. So finding like email, LinkedIn, phone number data. Clay does that through the waterfall system. And you can also integrate any other data providers outside of Clay that you would like to do and run the waterfall through that. They also have, they have their Claygen tool, which does like the web AI search. So like if you want to find certain other data points around prospects, and also qualification. So like if you want to find, let's say if a SaaS tool has an enterprise plan or not, you can qualify companies for that through using the Claygen. Scraping, So you can hook up your Appify, Zenro, Serper connections, any other scraping tool that has an API. You can connect it to Clay and run scrapes from there. And they can also do just general web scraping with ClayGen. You can even find emails and phone number data with ClayGen if prompted correctly. So that's that. And then workflow automation. So we built a lot of our agency is built on Clay, actually. Um, Especially on the inbox management side of things, we have a lot of workflows that are built off of receiving positive responses. So Clay has been great for that. But yeah, there's just so many different automations you can do. You can do crazy automations. You can automate entire client onboarding just inside of Clay. It's such a powerful tool. It's crazy. But just a few examples like, oh yeah, evergreen intent signal campaigns. Set up Triggerify, set up RB2B, have that as an evergreen campaign inside of Clay that can just always be running. Um, yeah, again, API connections to pretty much any other tool that you can connect it to Make, Zapier, and set up automations to there. Also to your CRM, of course, and then yeah, I mean you can automate pretty much full outbound functions. Like, so they say script writing, you can automate pretty much all script writing through Clay. So let's say, like, for example, client submits a onboarding form. That onboarding form gets sent to a Clay table, which then takes that data, parses it, does the market research, and then writes full scripts around. Um, so much can be done with Clay. I'm sure you all know this at this point, but these are just like the three main use cases that are relevant specifically to the cold email outbound side of things. Next, diving into go-to-market strategy. This is going to be a super, super high level overview of this because, if I were to dive into each of these topics in depth, which I have videos on, you can check throughout my LinkedIn and my Twitter, um, it'll take forever. So I'm just going to do a very high level. So typically, I kind of mapped out like the general process of creating our messaging and targeting for our outbound campaigns. It always starts with market research. So the way there's 2 points of market research that we get or that we need when it comes to developing our strategy. First is going to be AI deep research. So with whatever data we have around a company that we're going to run outbound for, whether that being ourselves or another client, we're going to do the following. We're going to do ICP segmenting, so kind of lay out what are the ideal customer personas, and then segment them according to priority. Map the TAM to see like, okay, what part of the market is like fully accessible to us? What can we actually go after, and what ICPs fit within that? Then beyond that, messaging and value prop ideation. So really, this is not necessarily like writing the full cold email scripts. This is just like thinking of like, okay, what are good things to mention, or like what are value propositions we can mention to prospects that would be valuable, or like what are pain points that are relevant that you can potentially message or mention in our messaging that would be valuable to the prospects as well, or resonate with them. And then of course, customer feedback. So this applies in 2 different ways. One being like, okay, let's say a client sends us an onboarding form, like you're working with us, you send us an onboarding form. We're going to prioritize that feedback, of course. But let's say ask your customers themselves about the product. So let's say you're selling a SaaS solution. Reach out to your customers and ask them like, okay, what made you buy? What keeps you retaining to our service? And then also ask them like, what do customers not like about your competitors that they valued they value your product or your service over that? These are really, really great insights to have when it comes to developing our strategy, because that's real feedback from the market themselves, right? And from this information, after we've done our market research, then we can start kind of developing our targeting and messaging. Because a culmination of all of this, like even the ICP segmentation, that does affect the messaging, because we want to develop our messaging around the different segments that we create, right? And from that, let's say we have different specific segments we want to go after. We're creating messaging around. We want to find, let's say, like we're targeting. Say we're targeting, the head of social media at, let's say, beauty e-commerce brands, right? What are some specific pain points they have, or like what's a valuable lead magnet or friend offer we can present to them that is relevant to their specific situation, right? What's relevant social proof, like saying like, hey, we worked with L'Oreal to help them, 10x their social presence, right? Very basic example, but these are just things to keep in mind, right, when you're developing your messaging. And that's how all this previous research kind of applies to that. But in terms of messaging itself, there's really three key components of messaging that makes a winning cold email. And that's going to be either addressing like a pain qualified pain point. I got that from Jordan Crawford. It's like he calls it the pain qualified segment. But addressing like a real pain point, right? That's specific to a persona. Or offering a valuable lead magnet or front end offer. So front end offer is not necessarily a lead magnet. It's offering a foot in the door service for a prospect. It's either free work or like a really good discount that can just get your foot in the door, get you working with the client, and then you can upsell them to the main offer. And the next being relevant social proof. So if you have an amazing case study in that specific vertical you're going after, that always works well. So incorporating each of these within your messaging, could be mix and match it, is always going to boost your messaging. And that's kind of like the core thesis around creating a valuable cold email, is building your script around these 3 points. And in terms of targeting, so this course is general targeting, like industry persona. Then there's also public data. So like finding public data that we can present to prospects, like Jordan Crawford likes to call it the permissions value prop. So we scrape some sort of data on the internet that we can present to prospects that they would be willing to pay for, or we can scrape public data that is relevant to insights that we can target within our audience that signals buying intent, which then when we reach out to emails, we can kind of, mention that data and address them accordingly, which is super valuable. Then there's also, of course, the general intent signals, things like R2B2B, Triggerify, scraping people away from social engagement or website visitors. These are the general ones. But that's pretty much the super, 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 super high level of go-to-market strategy. I could speak about this for 10 hours, but keeping it general, because I just want to do like the general architecture overview of our cold email outbound system. And finally, I know I have like about 2 minutes left. Demand capture systems, pretty simple, to be honest. Really, it's just going to be inbox management, having a CRM, and also integrating outbound sync, if it makes sense. So having some sort of dedupe and like data congregation thing where you can push the leads from outbound to your CRM cleanly, and update those contacts cleanly as well. Inbox management, of course, you're going to need inbox managers or have an SDR in place that's managing the inbox. We need someone that's handling all the replies, like responding within the first 5 minutes of a prospect replying. It's absolutely crucial. Speed of lead, super crucial. And of course, having a master inbox, so having a singular inbox that congregates all and centralizes all of the conversations from the individual secondary inboxes that we create in one place, right? So we can manage everything effectively, especially at scale. CRM, no brainer. You need one for lead nurture. You need one to update the contact stages. You need to have clean data. Everyone knows this. Outbound sync, this is pretty much the tool that we can use to sort of unify our outbound systems to our CRM. We can track lead attribution, and we can also sync all outbound leads to the CRM and have it all tidy. That's the full system in a really brief 15-minute breakdown. I wanted to cover this because people are curious about like how do we actually what's the actual architecture of our system. So I just felt like figure this would be valuable. If you have any questions around this, let me know. If this is something that you would like built out your company and you want more information around this, or you just like us to build out a robust system, kind of implementing these fundamentals for your B2B company, of course, reach out to me and love to chat with you. Hope you found this valuable. And if you have any questions again, let me know. Cheers.